Go.
Hi, welcome to Plum Fusion, month number 10. We are doing our setting pinwheels. We are almost done. We are in the home stretch. Woohoo! Okay, so these are the blocks that go in the setting triangles of our quilt to square it out into the large piece. Now, we're going to start with a whole bunch of flying geese. But before we do this, and I put a note in the packets going out. When you're looking at the cutting instructions, fabric 1, fabric 10, and fabric 8 asks you to cut those pieces for the flying geese. Don't do that, okay? Just cut the squares. Fabric 1, cut your 8 5.5-inch squares. Do not cut on the diagonal, okay? Fabric 10, it's asking you to cut 16 3 1/8 squares for the flying geese and then cut them on the diagonal. Do not cut them on the diagonal. And fabric 8, they're asking you to do 16 3 1/8-inch squares and cut them on the diagonal. Do not cut them in the diagonal, okay? With these pieces, the fabric number 1, fabric number 10, and fabric number 8, we are going to do 4 at a time flying geese, but with a little bit of a twist. You're going to put fabric 1, this is fabric 10, mark the center, sew a 1/4 inch on either side. When you cut that apart and press down, you're going to end up with this. Now you're going to use your fabric number 8 and you're going to place it on here, mark your center, sew it on either side. Now when you cut this apart, you're going to get 2 flying geese, and you notice they are opposite. This is correct, okay? So when you do the whole process, you are going to end up with 16 of these and 16 of these that you're going to trim down to the 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangle. Okay, do I have my trimmed one? Yes, see, I have them trimmed down. 2.5 by 4.5 rectangles. So these are correct, okay? The other set of flying geese you're going to do is with fabric 2, fabric 7, and fabric 9. These you do want to follow the cutting instructions. So you will have your fabric number 2, which was the big square that you're going to cut into quarters on the diagonals. And you're going to have little triangles of your fabric number 7 and your fabric number 9. So these you're going to sew on, matching your bottom tip of your triangle coming up. This is going to extend over the top. You're going to start here on the bottom end, sew up to the top, and that's going to give you enough room to trim your triangle, okay, to get a good seam allowance on your goose. So you're going to end up with 16 of these as well. Okay, once you have your flying geese, you're going to take fabric number 7 and fabric number 9, 3.25-inch squares, and you're going to do half square triangles. You're going to need 16 of these, which are all square to 2.5 inches. And then you're going to put together your geese units. Okay, so this is the first part of your block. Let's do it this way because this is how it's oriented towards you. You're going to take your first flying goose. You're going to take your half square triangle and you're going to take a fabric number 10. You're going to arrange it so your goose makes a large green triangle there, and you have your fabric number 10 there. So it makes a corner. So you're going to sew these two together, press them open, and then sew this to your geese unit. And they will look like this. Then you will take your geese unit. Okay, you're going to make 16 of these. And how is this oriented? It's so funny because they orient them differently on the paper. Okay, you've got this. You've got 16 of these and 16 of these. And you're also going to have the number 2 squares. So this goes here. And you're going to sew fabric 10 to this side, fabric 10 to this side, and then these together. Makes a very pretty block, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 units. You want these touching the same fabric, okay? Here, sew these two together, and then here. That is your quarter block, and you're going to take 4 of them and stitch them together, rotating each one. So the fabric number 2 ends up in the 4 corners, and the center forms that big pinwheel in the green and the cream. So you'll be making 4 of these for your quilt, and we're good to go. Next month is putting those big setting triangles together, putting them on your quilt, and then we're bordering and we're done. Yay! See you next month.